Story, of course, that we're following. It's been about 4 weeks now of this government shutdown, now entering its fourth week. And while federal employees eventually will get back pay, we're told more than 1 million small business owners won't have that same thing extended to them. We're talking about federal contractors. So Rebecca Contreras, CBO of AvantGarde, and former White House appointee, is joining us now with the cost of this shutdown for them. And it's a segment that's not often talked about and considered with all of this. So Rebecca, good morning, and thanks for being on with us today.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure being with you this morning.
Of course. All right, let's dive into this. So what makes the shutdown so devastating, you say, for federal contractors, that is, compared to federal employees?
Well, so first of all, I am one of millions of owners that work with the federal government. We have about 78,000 small businesses that work with the federal government. And that's not speaking into the larger businesses that have, larger size contracts, but there are a lot of small businesses like mine that are being detrimentally impacted by the shutdown. And the reason it's different is because, unlike the federal workers, at least, we don't receive back pay for the work lost. So at AvantGarde, my company alone, I have over 110 employees, 50% of which the projects are shut down, and they will never recover from the lost income and payroll in the tune of almost $500,000 this week if the government doesn't open back up. And this is income that is to the employees working for our team, not income lost to the business. So there are a couple of major factors here that I think are detrimental that just the general media is just not talking about. And that's why I am committed to raise awareness and sound the alarm that this is going to impact the heartbeat of America, which is our small business community across the nation serving the federal government.
I mean, you're talking like real world consequences here. This is their paychecks, their families, their businesses that will be impacted by this. So, I mean, what are we talking here? We're thinking about it, 1 million of these contractors being impacted, right?
Right. So as of today, there's over 1 million employees that work as a federal contractor that are laid off, and that's just a sort of high-level stat. We don't really, because everything has been moving so fast, we don't really have the true numbers, but we think that that's an underestimate. Keep in mind, Elise, it's not only the income that's lost to small business and employees working for small business, but you also have over $170 million in loans from the SBA that are not going through the process. And in Texas alone, Texas small business, and these are people that are not working for the federal government. These are small businesses that are relying on small business loan programs. $88 million of that $178 million that's not going reviewed is Texas businesses alone, Texas businesses like mine. And every day that the government is shut down, programs like the SBA Small Business Loan Program is impacted. Employees like my employees and the million plus others are not receiving a paycheck, and that income can never be recovered.
Yeah, why do you think that they are being left out of the conversation? It's so interesting that you say that because they really haven't been mentioned much. In fact, you even call them the invisible victims of the shutdown. So why do you feel that they're being left out of the conversation?
I think as I grew up in government. I spent 15 years in government myself as a government employee, and I think because there are, over 2 million and a half federal workers that are not being paid, many of which are working but not being paid. I think that conversation has dominated the media. But in talking to my small business colleagues that are relying on paying their employees. And I can tell you, for me and my small business partner and I have made a very deliberate decision. We had a very healthy cash flow. We grew this business to ensure that we could take care of our employees and make payroll. If the government doesn't open back up, that cash flow is obliterated. It's gone. And all of the hard work in starting and growing a very thriving small business will be out the window if members of Congress don't do their job and approve a federal budget. So it's a real dire impact, and I am committed to sound the alarm and make sure that the American people know these are everyday Americans working for small business to the tune of the millions of employees.
You're doing so much more, too, than just sounding the alarm, because I have to mention something your company is doing, which is fantastic, stepped in to help employees. So tell us a little bit more about this zero-interest bridge loan program that you created and how it's helping your employees.
Well, we heard from our employees that when they were going to the bank, they weren't able to get bank loans because the banks and the credit unions are telling them they're not guaranteed to get back pay, unlike the federal workers that will get back pay. They're not eligible for the back pay. And so, when we heard through our senior project managers that employees were struggling to pay their rent, to put food on the table, to take care of loved ones. We have single moms on our projects. One project in particular has a third single mom staffed on that project. Our heart of compassion really hit home for my partner and I, and we decided out of our own money to fund a Bridge Gap zero interest loan for employees that are impacted, and we've had over 50% of our staff impacted. And we last week was the first week we issued these loans. Once the government opens back up, so basically the employees eligible to apply for the loan with no interest on it. We have issued our first payroll for that last Thursday, and then when the government opens back up and we're able to redeploy our team to support the projects, then we will spread out the payback over a cycle of about 4 months. So we're going to give them a graduated cycle to pay back that income. But we're hearing the stories, Elise, of our employees that are so grateful. I talked to an elderly, I would say senior citizen that's on our team last Thursday. She just, her husband lost his job 4 months ago and was laid off. She's the sole breadwinner. And then she took in her brother who had a stroke, and she's caring for him. And she was so grateful that we were able to give her that Bridge Gap loan. And she just really showed her commitment long-term to the company. And we just couldn't stand by and do nothing about this need. We had to respond as owners to ensure that our employees are well taken care of during this really tragic time.
Yeah, this is one of those things I know they're grateful, and this is something that they won't easily forget, that you stepped in to be able to do this for them. Finally, let me ask you this, Rebecca, before we let you go. What's your message of hope, or what do you hope that the takeaway is from all of this, from what you're saying to those policymakers who have it, within their authority to be able to make a change now and the next time we find ourselves in a government shutdown?
No, I would say that this is not about politics. It's about the human impact. And if I've worked with politicians in my career, and I have, political friends on both sides of the aisle, given my long government tenure and my own work. But I will tell you, this is not about politics. This is about the people behind the paycheck, the human impact. And just if we just come together and work together to think about real solutions for everyday Americans that are suffering, I think we can get it done. And I would just admonish our members of Congress to work together for common sense solutions and get this done. The American people are better. They deserve it. And there's millions and millions of people impacted. And I hope that they do come to a quick resolution. And I'm an optimist. I'm a believer in this great country we call America. And I do hope and pray that a solution happens quickly for the good of people like us and small business communities that are being severely impacted.
Yeah, an important message today, talking about those 1 million contractors who find themselves in a really tough situation here amid the government shutdown. So Rebecca Contreras, CEO of AvantGarde LLC, thank you so much for checking in with us here. We sure do appreciate it.
Thank you so much for the time.
Of course.